Hi, I'm JL. Welcome back to KCZIN. Go to the website and become a supporter. We got great news for you coming up in an upcoming event, and you can be part of this event that's taking place with KCZIN. Are you joining into this event that's taking place? It's all going to be virtual, but you're going to get some great information, things you never heard of from other leaders. Come check it out. But let's go into the basic topic today, which is, how do we know if a movement is actually a movement for Black nationalism, and how long should it take? So here we are dealing with many issues in terms of Black nationalism. So let's go into a perspective that's really critical. How do you know whether someone is actually in Black nationalism? Now, truly one of the best examples that you can actually find, not in terms of Black nationalism, but understanding whether a person is actually really doing what's necessary to attain the status of Black nationalism. And I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that. So a leader that leads the people, regardless of what position they're taking, the way you can determine whether that leader is actually a leader that is effective is that their message will always match their action. If they don't coincide, then you have a problem. So that's a problem that exists today. In terms of Black nationalism, there are words that are spoken, but their actions show not to coincide at all. Case in point. So how do we know about Martin Luther King and his movement? Martin Luther King was a man that was actually trying to get something done for Black people, and his action really coincided with what his message actually was. So he was just making statements or giving presentations in churches, but he was actually carrying out what he spoke about in his message and delivering it to the public. And of course, that was something that was ongoing. Now, I also want to mention, which is a very important part, which is as far as how long does it take to get things accomplished. Well, many of the problems that we are trying to solve when it comes to Black nationalism, leaders have told you it would take you decades, in terms of even centuries in many cases. However, let's look at the most radical situation that existed back in the earlier times of doing Dr. Martin Luther King. It was pretty radical what he was doing. Today we see that as a softball, but back then it was huge. The fact that he decided that he was going to go against the establishment, and all he wanted to do was actually create an equal status for Black people to get on buses and sit in front of the buses in Montgomery, Alabama. So from the time that he started that movement in Alabama, the time he attained his greatest accomplishment, which was civil rights, that's between 10 years between the two activities. That's how long it took him. That's a short period of time when you consider the great accomplishments that he had attained. So my point to you is that it took him a lot of effort to get to those 10 years and attain what he wanted. He had to first in Montgomery go after the people that were involved in buses and putting people in the back of the buses, and then he also had to get Black people organized. How he organized was by telephone and also by mail, slow mail as we call it today. And those were his only options. And in just using that technology and using what was available to them at that time, it only took them 10 years to attain what he attained, which is the Civil Rights Act. So here's what's really important. We're living in a day today that we have greater technology, greater things available to us. So when we say we're going to form a nation, a country for our people, so if he was able to do, Dr. Martin Luther King, what he did, going from bus protests to civil rights in 10 years with the available technology that he had, clearly imagine what we can do in the next 8 years. Between now and then, we'll have our nation. And that's the difference between speaking about a nation and putting the actions behind of having a nation established. Come to the seminar. We're doing it online, virtual, through KCZIN. You're going to be able to go there and subscribe, join that particular seminar, and find out all the complete details that we're going to put in place. If you are Black nationalists and you really want a country, this is the place to go. Not about talking about what other people are talking about, but forming our own country. And that's the best way to get a full understanding of what's taking place. You'll have it nowhere else, directly through KCZIN, which is actually putting this seminar together to make sure that you understand how to form our country.